Once again, welcome to the Main Event Podcast. I'm Jez. That's Dan, depending on what you're watching on. He's down there, he's over there, he's everywhere.
I'm everywhere.
Joining us here from a different location this edition.
Yeah, different location today. One-off special.
Yeah. I mean, it's not quite as pretty as your bedroom with like all of the championship belts in the background and, you know, the nicely decorated walls. I mean, I don't know what that wall is over what's your right shoulder, I think.
Well, that one.
That one. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on there. That's just dusty, cobwebby wall.
Like a beigey colour.
Mm.
And then there's a cabinet behind me.
Beige. That's a choice, isn't it? Painting.
Beige cabinet.
Painting,
and there's another beige cabinet there.
Certainly a choice. Yeah.
I mean, it's an office, so.
Still, I mean, have some ambition.
It's not my room.
Like, beige is not a colour you should put anywhere, really. I don't think. It's a nasty colour. But it is episode 200 of the Main Event Podcast.
Yes.
We have done more than 200 of these things between specials and, one-offs and a few retro things and all of that kind of business. But this is officially episode 200. So what better time to have a little redesign? We've changed colour for the first time in the show's history.
Yeah.
It's been a kind of red base colour for everything up till now. But now we've gone the opposite side. If it was a New Japan entranceway, we've turned babyface. I think the blue corner is. Oh no, maybe we've turned heel. I think we've turned heel actually.
Oh, maybe we're heel.
I can't remember which way around the colours are, but we've certainly changed from one to the other.
Change sides.
And much like the Big Show, we might just flip flop back and forth and be red one week and blue the next, and then just heel turn and face turn like there's no tomorrow. Yeah. So one of many changes to come. You'll see something else that's new a little bit later. It's been a busy old summer for me. I don't know about you. So there's a few things that I wanted to have done for this that I haven't, but they will come over time, and it'll be all right. But I will at some point. Not that you'll tell with the screen and things in the background, but at some point in the near future, I will be broadcasting from a different location as well. I'm looking to move house, sell up, I mean to say, and move to a new property. So, all going on in the real world. And by virtue of not being here for a month and a half between your jury duty and me going away and then just having a nice summer break, really.
Nice little break,
It's been a little while, but we'll kick things off with another change that's fairly obvious to long-time viewers of this show, and that is our ongoing prediction competition. SummerSlam saw the end of the last quarter of predictions, and a new champion has been crowned. Look at that.
Yeah, it has, unfortunately.
With a score of 114 to me, 108 to you, I am now the new Main Event Podcast World Prediction Champion.
Yeah, well done.
I would take it down and lord it over you, but then I'd have to fight with the pins to put it back up again, and I can't be bothered, quite frankly. So some weeks it'll be there, some weeks it'll be on my shoulder. We'll see how we go. The next quarter of competition is already underway, as you'd expect.
Yeah, it is.
Because SummerSlam was over a month ago now, I think.
It was.
So we've had lots of events that we have predicted. Yeah. We'll do the scores of all of those over the course of the show. We won't discuss absolutely everything from the last month because that would be insane, but we'll certainly discuss the highlights and all of the things that really interested and excited us, I suppose. But before we do move on, I do just have to ask you, how does it feel to be without your baby?
No comment.
You can't no comment. What are you, a politician? Lame answer.
No comment.
Lame answer. We should also say that this and all episodes of the Main Event Podcast are sponsored by Goat Energy Drink. I've got myself a new case of the Funky Goat over the
Funky.
over the break, so I'm going to crack into that now.
Crack into it.
Oh, mate, the smell. I love it so much. Swapped cherry right in my face. I love this flavor so much. And I'm not just, saying it because we're shilling this company. I love this flavor so much. It's incredible. And if you would like to be euphoric about an energy drink in the same way that I am, you can go to godrinks.co.uk, use the code Jez10. That will get you free shipping and 10% off. Yeah, just get the cherry. There's no substitute unless, like Dan, you're caffeine intolerant, in which case get the watermelon.
Get the watermelon.
It's caffeine free. But being that Dan's somewhere else, he's got to go without today. Unlucky.
Well, I've got water.
When the choice is goat or water.
Delicious.
The choice is clear. Yeah. I'm going to savour that. It's going to be
I bet you are.
Now then, I will bring up our topic bar for the first time, and the only time today, because this is just more like a proof of concept and a thing that I've been working on, and I've done this one and no others, but there it is, down there on the main feed. If you're watching on Instagram or TikTok, then you're not getting any of the fun stuff because I haven't got that far yet. But our first topic today is the G1 Climax tournament, which has come home with fellow Kent native and Brit, fellow for me anyway. You don't live in Kent. Zack Sabre Jr. won the prize of New Japan Pro Wrestling's biggest annual tournament, defeating New Japan Cup winner Yota Tsuji in the finals. Sabre has declared his intention to fight for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on October the 14th at King of Pro Wrestling rather than at Wrestle Kingdom in January as is traditional. So, Dan, your thoughts on the win, on those that didn't win, and other people that were in the tournament, and this breaking of the Wrestle Kingdom tradition?
Well, I think very well done to Zack Sabre Jr. First off, we got to say that.
Absolutely.
I think the right person won. As I think that's what you think as well, Jeremy.
On the most part, yeah. I'll get into mine in a moment.
Oh, really? But I definitely think it was. I think it was a good tournament. Good tournament. Was it the best tournament we've seen? Don't think so.
No, I don't either.
I don't think so. But it was a good tournament. Enjoyed it for what I watched. I didn't watch all of it. I only really watched the quarterfinals and semi-finals and final. But those were good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Very well done to Zack Sabre Jr. And I'm quite interested about him changing the date when he challenges.
Yeah, I mean there is a reason for it, and it's because the British show, what's it called, Royal Quest, if they still call it that, has been announced for the following weekend, October 20th, and he wants to bring home the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship to England.
Which I'd love to see.
I would love to see it too. It's up in the air whether I'm actually going to be able to go to this event because that's my daughter's birthday weekend and we're trying to squeeze in
that's fine.
all that kind of stuff. But whether or not I'm there, Zack Sabre Jr. will bring the championship if he wins it. And I agree with you. I think that Zack Sabre Jr. is certainly one of the worthy winners. The only other person that, there's two other people actually, but the main person that I think really needs a G1 Climax win to kind of cement his place in New Japan and his place at the top of his stable is David Finlay. And there were several points throughout the tournament where I thought that they were going to go with that and that they were going to have David Finlay win the tournament.
Yeah.
The other person that I think is a worthy winner, and I was kind of rooting for this person as well, is Hiroki Goto.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you're not as big a fan of Hiroki Goto as I am necessarily, but between coming this close in the New Japan Cup, and the story of, you know, doing it for his dad who died recently, or within the last year at least, and the fact that Chaos is kind of without a leader.
Yeah.
And I feel like they need to address that at some point. And if somebody like Hiroki Goto can win a major tournament or a major championship, then he can turn around and say that, you know, he is the leader, at least for a little while, until he decides to retire, because he's getting up there.
He is getting on
as well. But yeah, I think I would have been happy with any of those three winning.
Yeah.
But was obviously rooting for the homegrown boy, Zack Sabre Jr. to take them all. It just made sense, really. And I think it's a good step up for him. He gets a lot of comparison to Will Ospreay for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And I think that this helps to carve his own path as a British wrestler thriving in the Japanese scene. And it sounds like, you know, Zack Sabre Jr. is going to seek to do what Will Ospreay said he was going to do. And that's put New Japan on his back and carry it into the future forever and ever. Amen. Will Ospreay obviously changed his mind and went to AEW, and can't say I blame him there, but it's contrary to something that he said in the past. So, you know, hopefully Zack stays true to his word and represents us Brits over in the land of the rising sun for forever and ever. That'll be wonderful.
Well, something I didn't realise, and I found out the other day about Zack Sabre Jr., he was one of the participants in the WWE Cruiserweight Classic.
He was indeed, yes. Yeah, I remember it. Yeah. There were quite a few, you know, interesting names in that Cruiserweight Classic. I really don't think we appreciated the Cruiserweight Classic when it was on. I might go back and watch it again, and, you know, maybe we could do it as a retro thing. Just do, you know, the whole tournament as a discussion. That would be quite fun, I think. But Zack Sabre Jr., Kota Ibushi was in it as well, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
And that was really where Cedric Alexander cemented himself as, you know, one of the best cruiserweights at the time. And it's a shame that a lot of this didn't work out in terms of WWE, at least with the Cruiserweight Championship. But interesting looking back on it now, considering it really wasn't that long ago. What was that, 2017 possibly?
Something like that, yeah.
It was around the same time as the UK NXT stuff really started to kick off, wasn't it? So yeah, interesting. But now Zacky Boy has won a major tournament, and it's probably the biggest tournament in the world. It's certainly the the longest to get done from start to finish, a month-long tournament. So while we're on the topic of the G1 tournament, we predicted the quarterfinals onwards, and kicking off the scores on the doors for this quarter of competition, I ended up on 4, and you ended up on 2. It's the quarterfinals.
That was rubbish.
It's the quarterfinals that screwed you. Everything else was fine. You know, it was a strange quarterfinal in that there were buys, so there weren't 4 quarterfinals as you would expect. So didn't have quite as many opportunities to predict. And you predicted Great Khan and Konosuke Takeshita, I believe. Could have gone either way. Last thing about the G1, I think that Konosuke Takeshita had a fantastic G1, and I now think he's wasted in AEW and needs to go to New Japan, frankly. But he probably wants to live in America or stuff like that, so who knows. Right, I'll turn this topic bar off, and I would, ordinarily bring another one in, but I don't have another one, so enjoy the empty space. AEW returned to British shores in August, not only holding their second All-In event at Wembley Stadium, but also recording Dynamite and Collision in Cardiff. The event saw both Owen Hart tournament winners win their respective genders championships. Will Ospreay regained the AEW International title, and we also saw the in-ring return of Nigel McGuinness. Let's talk highlights and lowlights from AEW All In and everything to do with that tour, really.
Ooh.
What's your favourite thing that happened at that event, first of all?
Favorite thing, because it was such a big event, as AEW usually have. Mind you, they didn't have as many matches as I thought they would.
No, what was it? 11 instead of the
It
usual
was 11
14.
instead of like 50,000. Yeah, so they've scaled it back a bit, but I've got to go with Daniel Bryan and Swerve Strickland match was a highlight for me because they did knock it out the park, and I really liked the fact that Swerve really leaned into the fact of like just being pure heel and just proper going for Bryan's kids and all that,
Yeah.
So I really quite liked that,
Yeah, somebody had to be the heel in that situation, and it wasn't going to be Danielson
No.
with everything that was going on with him and the potential of retirement and him having his kids and his wife there and all of that. It's a shame they didn't, stick with that in terms of going forward, and he's gone back to being the babyface in his feud with Hangman Adam Page. But yeah. Does this match and championship win for Danielson top his Yeselmania win for you?
I feel it's kind of like on par with each other, because the Yes movement was so massive and he was at the height of his career in WWE at that point. And, it was such a massive moment when he won it, and it's kind of the same in AEW. This again was a massive moment. Again, he's at the height of his career in AEW. He was talking about retirement and now he's won it, now he's going to fight for some more. So,
yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I can't really say either way which is kind of my favorite. I think if gun to my head I had to pick one, I think it would be this AEW win, because I hate triple threat matches, and he won the WWE Championship in a triple threat match. But when I'm having to pick out such small insignificant things
details.
as that, then I think you're right. I think they're pretty much on par with each other.
Yeah,
and that's a major kudos to AEW that they've managed to pull off this level of story as a smaller company, and not doing it at what is the biggest stage in wrestling at WrestleMania. So I do, as much as they like to think that Double or Nothing is their flagship, their WrestleMania. I think it's All In, and I think
All In is,
especially now that they're going to take it somewhere else, and we'll get to that in a moment. I do think that All In is their key event of the year. Will it be next year? We'll do that conversation in a moment. Other things that were cool from All In, I surprisingly liked the Casino Battle Royal, and I surprisingly liked seeing Nigel McGuinness back in the ring, which, considering I really don't like the guy.
No, you don't,
No, I really don't. And maybe it's just I don't like his commentary. He was fine in the ring. I enjoyed that a lot.
He was looking in good shape as well, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, for him, it wasn't an injury or anything like that kept him out of the ring. It was a health thing, really. I think it was the hepatitis issue that really took him out of the ring in the end, and people wouldn't clear him to wrestle. I think more is known about that now, and you just deal with any bleeding or anything that happens, and you play it safe. But I think this is a one-off, or at least only to happen on special occasions.
I think it is a one-off.
I wonder if we are going to get Nigel McGuinness, Bryan Danielson at some point.
That'd be good
before he retires.
I was just glad that when they were looking at British wrestlers to show in it, they didn't go for Grado.
Yes, yeah. I was considering. I don't know if you've seen it. It's been advertised quite heavily on Facebook. The World of Sport wrestling
yeah.
is back.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yeah, they're having a show in Norwich in a couple of weeks, actually. I think it's 14th of September, in a TV studio, a soundstage there. And I was like, I might make the journey. Norwich isn't that far. I could do that in a day, probably go up, do it, come back.
Yeah.
And then they announced Grado. So I'm like, right, okay, no, I'll stay here. I don't need that.
Yeah, stay here, not watching that.
I don't need Grado in my life. And
No.
so I'm with you. I'm fed up of British wrestling companies just trotting out Grado as if he's some massive draw. Unfortunately, he is. People like him, and I can't fathom why. But
I don't know why. He's just a fat, annoying bloke.
I mean, don't hold back, Dan. Tell us how you really feel. Don't sugarcoat it.
That was me holding back. This is a PG show.
Don't sugarcoat it, just... Yeah.
I was holding back. This is a PG show.
Well, while you're holding back, I will ask you what your low points were from All In.
Low points.
For me, there really was only one poor match in terms of low points. That was Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker, DMD.
I was just about to say Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker. You expect something good from Britt Baker, but then Mercedes Moné is just rubbish. She can't wrestle.
Has been getting a lot of slack for this, and people have been accusing her of sandbagging, and I don't think that's the case at all.
No.
Because you look at other Mercedes Moné matches, especially since, coming back to wrestling and joining AEW, and you look at her frame, and I don't really know how to say this without it sounding offensive, but she looks like she's made of paper. She's got no musculature whatsoever. And so when she goes to do moves like her own finisher, is it the Money Maker or whatever it's called, where she has them up on her shoulder
thing that she can't do properly,
that she can't do. She doesn't have the strength to do it. And so much of her moveset is based around picking people up, and she just doesn't have the strength to do it. I don't think she's seen a gym in years. It's probably not since being in the Performance Center with WWE. And you've watched Britt Baker over the last few years in AEW. She's had the odd dodgy match, but on the whole, Britt Baker has good matches, as you said. So I refuse to believe that Britt Baker is the one at fault, especially considering what we've seen out of Mercedes Moné recently. So it was a bad match. They've got a real problem now with Mercedes Moné in AEW. She's got creative control. She's going to hold at least the TBS championship forever. It's not good for the company. It's like having Hulk Hogan back in WCW. Honestly, it's not good, and it's a long contract as well. Might as well say goodbye to that TBS championship.
Yeah, she's going to leave with it effectively when she leaves AEW, or when they just basically go, well, yeah, we're not renewing your contract.
Or they try to not honour the terms of her creative control and tell her she's losing it, and she throws her toys out of the pram, puts her belt on the table and walks out like she's done before. Honestly. Honestly, poor choices from Tony Khan. And people get on Tony Khan, obviously. Some of it's justified, most of it isn't, but this whole Mercedes Moné situation was a poor choice as far as I'm concerned. Anything else, good or bad, that you want to discuss about All In that stood out?
Not really.
Yeah, it was a solidly good show. I think other than that Moné match, I think it was a really good show. I enjoyed watching it live. I don't get to do that very often. So, yeah, good stuff. Prediction-wise, very, very close on this one. I ended up on 8, and you ended up on 9. We didn't differ on many, and we got similar ones wrong that knocked that score down a little bit. The difference in that point there is that you had Mariah May winning, and I did not. I didn't think they were ready to pull that trigger, but I'm kind of pleased they did.
One thing you forgot is that Mariah May is from London.
Yeah, but is it really that predictable? Yes, is the
Yes,
answer.
it
Yes, it
is.
is.
Yes. Last year they did it with Saraya. They did it with Will Ospreay getting the International Championship back.
That was more inevitable. I'll give you that. But
yeah.
I mean, people love Toni Storm here as well. She's like adopted British from all the time that she spent on our independent scene. So,
yeah.
She's having a break now, though. She's having a well-deserved rest, sitting somewhere in black and white. On the topic of AEW in the UK, AEW X New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door is coming to London in 2025. This will replace All In on the calendar, which instead will be taking place in Texas in a baseball stadium out there. Are you excited about the prospect of Forbidden Door in London, or would you have rathered another All In, or do you not care either way?
I'm kind of looking forward to the Forbidden Door because then you get to see more New Japan wrestlers. Yeah,
it's quite clever on AEW's part that obviously the sales from this year's All In were good, absolutely solid, but were quite a way down from the previous year's All In.
Yeah.
What better way to convince people that they need to part with their cash and come to a show than having New Japan in there as well, which is arguably just as popular as AEW outside of Japan. So I'm very excited about it for obvious reasons. As a big New Japan guy, I'm wondering whether they do it in the stadium. Is it going to be at Wembley Arena instead? Are they going to do it in the O2? It just says London, and no further information has been leaked, revealed, or
I reckon they'll do it at Wembley again, because then they can keep them sweet, can't they? Keep Wembley sweet.
Yeah, I think they want to keep doing shows at Wembley year on year, because the moment they don't is the moment that WWE step in and go, oh, AEW aren't doing one this year? We'll step in. Here you go.
We'll have that.
We'll come in and take that.
And we'll book it for the next couple of years as well.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll sell the place out is what they'll say, and then they'll bodge that somehow, whether they do or not. AEW won't get back in there, and that will be the end of that. So I think they have to do it at Wembley. I think the gimmick of Forbidden Door, as long as they do it properly, like this year's Forbidden Door wasn't Forbidden Door at all. But if you actually make it a true Forbidden Door and you bring over all of the biggest stars from New Japan, and you actually have it as a proper AEW versus New Japan throughout the show, then I think it will at least match what they did for All In this year. I think they will do a lot better, really. I think as fans of New Japan Pro Wrestling out there, you're listening, you need to sell out Royal Quest in October to let Tony Khan and the executives at New Japan know that we're keen on New Japan Pro Wrestling, and we would rather it be at the stadium, because they'll sell that than having limited tickets, because it's got to be at Wembley Arena, where they can only seat 8,000 to 10,000 instead of. Can they even get that many? Actually, I've just picked that number out of the sky. What is the capacity of Wembley Arena? Let's have a look. Capacity of Wembley.
I think it's like
Arena for wrestling. That's Wembley Stadium. Wembley Arena has 12,500 seats. There you go. I didn't pull that number out of my butt. And there'll be more, because obviously they have extra seating.
Yeah. So what, you're talking maybe like 15,000?
Probably close to 14,000, but which is a lot less than the 45,000 or whatever it was that they got in for All In this year. Yeah.
At least they didn't lie about the numbers this year.
Well, apparently they did, and that it was a touch lower than they said. They used the numbers in the same way, as in it was people in the building, not tickets. Turnstile turns, for lack of a better term. Yeah. as long as you stay consistent, then fine. But
Tony Khan's basically stood at a turnstile just doing that. Chink, 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 chink.
What I would say is, if I was a security guard for All In and I was being used as a number for the attendance, then I would be mightily put out if I wasn't able to just turn around and look at the ring and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
I'd be like, but I'm here. You've put me down as a number. I'm here as a spectator. I can do security and watch the wrestling.
Yeah.
Just let me do it.
Apart from a bloke who's just hurt somebody who's just running off, but I didn't notice.
Yeah, well, things happen. He's got wrestling to watch. Don't worry about it. Moving on then to another international show. WWE Bash in Berlin was this past weekend's latest international offering from WWE. Main evented by local-ish hero Gunther, defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
The event also saw Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens vie for the WWE Championship, and it also had the second meeting between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Bit easier to pick out highlights and lowlights from this one because it was 5 matches long, which is a lot easier to remember in entirety.
Well, you kick this one off.
Yeah, I mean, I will, but I also kind of have just an open question for us to discuss. Even though Gunther obviously is Austrian, which is like German adjacent, was it the right main event? Should it have been the WWE Championship, or do you think that the World Heavyweight Championship match was a better offering for this event?
I think the World Heavyweight Championship was a better offering because there was a bit more of a story to it, whereas Cody and Kevin, there wasn't really much of a story.
No,
there wasn't any story.
It was an empty victory for Cody Rhodes, basically, wasn't it? He needed a notch on his bedpost of his championship reign. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I did just ask the question, wondering if you would be contrary on this. Despite Gunther being local, I think that was the better match. I think it was the bigger draw. You just, no matter where it was, whether it was in Berlin or not, I think more people wanted to see Gunther and Randy Orton as a rematch of the King of the Ring final than they wanted to see, this frenemy match between Cody and Kevin Owens. So yeah, I think the right choice was made. If you were just putting matches out there based on the merits and on the story, I would probably make an argument for CM Punk and Drew McIntyre of being the main event. It wasn't for a championship, but there was a prize on the line, that stupid 2-pence bracelet that needs to have its own place in the WWE Hall of Fame by the time this is all said and done.
Can we talk about the strap match?
Absolutely.
What was those stupid things they've added to it? The light beacon things.
Oh, haven't you seen that before?
No.
In WWE, that is a traditional strap match. I mean, elsewhere it's just you get a strap that you are allowed to beat each other with. But the notion is obviously you drag your opponent around the ring and you have to hit the turnbuckles in succession. The only problem I had with the lights is that the red one was really difficult to see whether it was turned on or off. And I'm not quite sure why. Like, it was just as bright a color as the blue one for CM Punk, but it really did not show up against the crowd for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, going back to they haven't been going on forever in WWE in that form, but the earliest one that I can remember as a fan was a Texas Bull Rope match between JBL and Eddie Guerrero for the WWE Championship. And yeah, it was the same premise, except it was a giant rope with a bell in the middle. And they had to touch the turnbuckles. But yeah, do you feel like that took away from the match for you, that they didn't have to do any pins? Or
a little bit, because I feel like because those two hate each other so much, they should have just literally strapped them together and just said, right, have at it. sort of thing, you know, just beat the living hell out of each other instead of going, hold on, I've got to go touch this turnbuckle. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah. I feel like it worked in terms of they needed some kind of caveat for CM Punk winning this match. He's a lot older than Drew McIntyre. When you just look at the two of them, it's like, well, obviously Drew McIntyre is just gonna beat this old man into the ground, and that's that. So you needed some kind of way for CM Punk to be able to do this and have an odds to overcome. Yeah, I mean the other way that I've seen these matches done is it's more like a last man standing kind of style. It's so you must render your opponent unconscious and unable to answer, basically. That might have been better, but again, there's a slight believability problem there. Excuse me. I liked it. I thought it was a good match. Overall, I thought it really supplemented what was a fairly okay pay-per-view. I don't feel like it was spectacular. It was very predictable. We'll go out on a limb now and say that I had a perfect 5 for Bash in Berlin. So
I only had 4.
Yeah, we differed on the women's tag team match, and again, that was kind of just based on credibility. It's like, well, of course, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are going to win because they don't want to hand Jade Cargill a loss, and I don't think they're done with this team yet. I was rooting for a Bianca Belair heel turn that would cost them the match, and that Jade would take a loss because Bianca Belair had made it so. But wishful thinking on my part.
I just don't care about the women's tag team titles,
which is what you said to me when I told you that we had only differed on that one match.
I just don't care. They don't give me a reason to care about them. So
no, and I was thinking about this while watching NXT this week. I understood why they merged the WWE and NXT women's tag team titles, but you're not developing any women's tag teams.
No.
That will then progress to the main roster. So it's only if there's like a team that is thrown together just because it makes sense for a story at the time, like the Unholy Union were really. That was just to further a story. Okay, they were involved in the tag title picture there when it was a thing, but that was an aside. Now you look at NXT, there are a few teams there, but they're never going to win any championships, and they're probably not going to be together by the...
What's that new women's team with Fallon Henley and...
Toxic Attraction Light, basically.
Yes, basically that.
They're called the Fatal Influence.
That's the one.
Yeah.
What a stupid name.
I don't like that team at all. I feel like it's beneath Fallon Henley. We all know my feelings on Fallon Henley if you've listened to the show before. She's got her own gimmick already, and it wasn't, whatever the hell Fatal Influence is, basically. Influencers, pretty looking
that's
people.
That's what gives me the vibe of like influencers, like TikTokers or Instagrammers. You know what I mean?
Basically, yeah. And what's her name? The youngest of the group, the
the new girl.
Yeah, I can't remember her name now. But yeah, she tries to do this, bringing you into the camera and then like pushing you away thing, and it's just not believable. That needs work. I feel like this team would work better if it was her and like 2 other newbie type people who are trying to carve their way in by being the mean girl group. But like, it's kind of above JC Jane now. She did that with Toxic Attraction, and it worked well, but that's because of the 3 that were in it. It didn't work because JC Jane was the leader of it, and it worked because of the dynamic between the 3 of them, and mostly Mandy Rose, if we're being honest about it. Like, it doesn't fit Fallon Henley as much as she is, that beautiful presence in that group that she fits in terms of the look. She doesn't fit in terms of attitude. Like, she's got that more kind of brawler, I'm gonna leave you with a black eye and look pretty doing it kind of vibe, rather than just I'm going to look pretty and then run away so that you don't break my nails or pull an eyelash off or something like that. It just doesn't fit for her. Anyway, that's all an aside to Bash in Berlin, and we will get to NXT in a moment. And what do you think was your highlight, your standout moment from Bash in Berlin?
I liked the mixed tag match, Damien Priest, Rhea Ripley versus Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about that is the Terror Twins name, which just doesn't work for me. It doesn't make much sense.
Did you hear what they called them when Jey Uso joined?
No.
The Terror Triplets.
Oh man, that's even worse.
I thought you'd say that.
Especially because they're trying to, push this potential, love interest between Rhea Ripley and Jey Uso. It's like, so what? You're gonna date your triplet now? That's weird. It kind of made sense a little bit for Priest and Rhea because there's no romantic interest there. They are like a sibling relationship.
Yeah, they're like brother sister.
But if you're adding Jey Uso into that as an idea, then ew is what I'm saying there. Yeah. We're just looking for more ways to gross out, Buddy Matthews, aren't we? That's
we are actually.
All we're doing in WWE now is how can we make Rhea Ripley less desirable to Buddy Matthews on a daily basis. That's how that works. Yeah, I agree. I liked that match. It made me yearn for the mixed match challenge. Do you remember mixed match challenge?
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. I feel like mixed tag team championships would be quite fun.
They'd be better than the women's tag team.
They probably would be better than the women's tag team. Yeah. And I also don't think there's a need to have tag team championships on Raw and on SmackDown. I think that one of those should be turned into either mixed titles or trios titles in WWE, I think.
Yeah.
And you can still keep one on Raw and one on SmackDown, and you mix it up every couple of years in the draft.
Yeah.
But I just feel like nobody in that company cares about tag team wrestling anyway, so you might as well have some fun with it, right?
I mean, trios would be good because you got like the White Six, you got American Made, all that,
Bloodline, even Alpha Academy is still a trio, aren't they? Yeah, there's a lot more stables in WWE now under Triple H, and I don't see that changing. There's a buttload of stables in NXT that are going to come up. The family and OTM aren't a trio anymore, are they? Because
no,
what's his face? Reggie's sodded off after his contract run out. So, yeah, but there's still plenty of groups that could work for that, and it's very easy to, if you want to throw teams together in the way that you often do in tag team wrestling, it's a lot easier to explain throwing together a mixed tag team than it is any other team. You'd be like, I need a partner of the opposite gender for the mixed tag team thing.
Yeah.
Let's walk down the corridor. Hey, you're female. Do you want to team with me? Sure, why not? And then it's easy. They do that sometimes with tag teams normal anyway, but nobody likes that. It's a bit more acceptable in mixed, but yeah, fair enough. Anything that stood out to you as, oh my god, why did they do that from Bash?
Not really. It was just all together. It was just an okay pay-per-view.
Yeah, solidly average. My only gripe was that Triple H wasn't at the press conference. That's
but understandable why he wasn't there.
Ish. I mean, he scheduled Bash in Berlin. Like, he could have made it a week earlier. That's his fault. Schedule your events better, Trips. Loser. Yeah, so as we said, predictions. I got 5, you got 4. The contest continues. Hot on the heels of Bash in Berlin, NXT No Mercy was held in Denver, Colorado this past Sunday. The event was historic for being the first time that a TNA contracted wrestler had challenged for a WWE championship in the main event of a WWE Premium Live event. In said match, All Ego Ethan Page defended his NXT championship against Joe Hendry, and also No Mercy saw the new TNA X Division champion Zachary Wentz defeat his former Rascals partner Wes Lee, and we also had the long-awaited debut of Julia. Without just saying Julia, what is your highlight moment from NXT No Mercy? Because Julia's the obvious answer.
Yeah,
and
Julia is the obvious answer. Yeah. I did like the main event. I've got to admit, the way Trick was the special guest referee.
It was
Trick
a good
Williams
dynamic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good that, he did call it down the middle. So fair play to him. Apart from the fact he stopped the referee's hand, but
he was the referee. He deserved to
he could
make
do
the
what he
count himself.
wants.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's probably the highlight for me, without saying Julia.
Yeah. I think for me it was the X Division match. I know it wasn't, but Wesley and Zachary Wentz. It was the one that had the most story that I was interested in. Really, I saw a turn coming a mile away in that tag team match a few weeks ago, but I did think it was going to be the other way around. I thought it was going to be Zachary Wentz turning on Wesley and saying, you just carried on regardless when I got fired from this company for no reason, and so now you're going to pay. But I think it's going to really push Zachary Wentz to new heights. He's now X Division champion, which is decent, and I predicted that in the emergence predictions. Yeah. It's great. I'm going to keep this. It's wonderful. So they've got a tag team title shot next week, the Rascals have. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually put the NXT tag team titles on the Rascals and let them take them to TNA and defend them against all the TNA teams. I think that, I'm waiting for them to finally do that and put a belt on someone from the other company and just let them go ham with it, defending it everywhere. That will be decent, because the other benefit of a TNA contracted person is they can take the NXT titles to a random indie and defend them there.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be predictable and that they're going to retain, but just putting the NXT brand out into the world when they are now going to be broadcast on the CW, which is a broadcast channel. It's like, it being on Channel 5 here, basically.
Yeah.
Everyone can watch it for nothing.
Yeah.
Just advertises NXT as the coolest thing in wrestling, and it hasn't been that for a while. It used to be the coolest thing in wrestling, and to talk about Julia, her debut gave me massive old school NXT black and gold vibes. The feeling of a major person from the indies showing their face in NXT and in WWE as a whole for the first time was just such a cool thing back in the day. Your Samoa Joes and your Adam Coles and even like Shinsuke Nakamura and Sami Zayn and those kind of people that you really knew were coming. So I think it's a move in the right direction. You've still got two pretty significant signings in the women's division to come as well, in Delta and Stephanie Vaquer. They're just waiting to debut. So, exciting times for NXT. Can't wait to see how Shawn Michaels cocks it up.
Yeah, and we all know he will.
Yes, he is the worst booker of all of the bookers in professional wrestling right now. Shawn Michaels is the worst. Yeah. What else did we have going on? There was the NXT North American women's match, Wendy Chu and Kelani Jordan. That was fine. I think you're right. I think the main event was a definite highlight. The rest of it was just fairly solid. I feel like it might have been slightly better than Bash in Berlin, because it had
Julia.
certain things. It had Julia for a start, and it had certain things that weren't quite as predictable. Overall, prediction wise, we did pretty badly.
I did very badly.
You did very badly. Yeah. I got 4. How many matches were there? 6, something like that.
6, I think.
Yeah.
So there was 6.
So I lost out on a couple. You obviously lost out on the same ones, and then you went for Wendy Chu to beat Kelani Jordan. Care to defend that choice?
I just felt like choosing her.
Fair enough. Yeah, you'll have to chew on that decision going forward. I understand. You don't need to justify this next one. I understand it. You went for Joe Hendry to beat Ethan Page. Yeah. I believe in Joe Hendry, but I believe in WWE's ability to ruin a good thing a lot more than Joe Hendry.
Yeah. I just thought I'll be brave and I'll put Joe Hendry.
I almost did. I went back and forth all day before I put my predictions in, and I'm like, are they going to do it? Are they really going to put the title on Joe Hendry? It would be incredible. People would lose their minds. No, they're going to bottle it. So went for Ethan Page. I thought truly that Trick Williams was going to turn heel and directly cost Joe Hendry the title. He's not really doing it for me as a babyface anymore. He's over still, but he hasn't got that same whoop that trick shine that he had a few months ago in his feud with Carmelo Hayes. So I was like, well, what better way to really push him to that next level than to have a long drawn out feud with Joe Hendry over the fact that he doesn't believe, and he's ruined Joe Hendry's prospect of winning in this history making moment as the first time in the main event and all that kind of stuff that we already discussed. So I understand your choice, but ultimately it was wrong, which is why you ended up on 2. I ended up on 4. We've got one more topic to discuss, and then we'll blast through the predictions from the other shows that we're not talking about today. Get a scores on the doors update. But finally, our last topic, new WWE Raw commentator Joe Tessitore has apologized for not doing a better job on his debut after being trashed on social media. He said, and I quote, "I was very into the fans. It was a great reception. It meant a lot to me. It brought out the little kid in me tonight. I went and grabbed a bunch of t-shirts and merchandise to give out. I spread the love, and I wanted to see smiles on these children's faces. I wasn't great tonight, but I was a passionate fan tonight." So what did you think of Joe Tessitore's Raw debut, and do you think he'll work out in the long run?
No, he won't work out.
Why?
I just don't think he will. I just don't think he will.
There certainly is precedent for, people coming from the wider world of sports to commentate in WWE and not working out. Did you enjoy his commentary on Raw this week?
It was okay.
I did. It might be, though, that I'm more familiar with Joe Tessitore in general.
Could be, yeah.
For the last few years, he's been the voice of college football on Saturday evenings. He's mostly done the game of college football on a Saturday that's on at a sociable time here. So is the one that we always get to watch in the UK. And he has the voice for commentary. There's no denying that deep cadence. He's very clear. He enunciates well. He's got a good voice for commentary.
Yeah.
I think he would be good at it. Do you know what I think the problem is?
What?
Being paired with Wade Barrett. And that's not a knock on Wade Barrett, because I've really enjoyed his work as a commentator as well. But they're the same kind of commentator in terms of their energy levels that they bring to the table. If Joe Tessitore and Pat McAfee were next to each other on Raw this past week, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
Joe Tessitore is very much a describe the action, give the information, deliver the stats, tell you exactly what's going on kind of commentator. A true play-by-play commentator.
Yeah.
Whereas you need somebody with a bit more energy, high energy. Wade Barrett tried to say the ridiculous things that a color commentator should say and get the reactions. But Wade Barrett doesn't have that level of energy in him.
No.
He's not that kind of commentator. And that's why him being paired with Corey Graves in the time that they were together really worked. Corey Graves brings the energy. Wade Barrett brings that straight down the line. It's a bad pairing. It's not that Joe Tessitator's bad. It's not that Wade Barrett is bad. It's a bad pairing. And if they don't fix that, then it's going to fail. And Joe Tessitator's going to get the blame because the play-by-play guy always does. And then he'll be sent on his merry way before they even get to Netflix in January, which will be a shame because I think he's got the most potential of any of these, ex ESPN commentators.
Yeah.
I don't want him to be another Mike Adamle or another. I can't remember what that guy's name was. The most recent one that came from UFC.
Him. Was it Kevin something?
Oh, not Kevin Patrick, not the Irish one. He was terrible as well. No, the bald guy. He mostly was there during the pandemic, and he could never get people's names right.
Him.
Yeah, it's not going to come to me. But answers on a postcard. You know who I'm talking about out there in the world. He was not good. He was not suited to WWE. I think with some work, Tessitator definitely could be suited, and maybe add a third person to that desk that brings the energy. That would work.
Bring Pat back.
Yeah, unfortunately, Pat McAfee is gone off to do college football until January, so he'll be back for Netflix. Will Tessitator last that long? Because I think that pairing will be incredible. The Joe Tessitator, Pat McAfee booth is going to be incredible, but we've got to get there first.
Yeah.
Who can we bring to give it the energy?
Somebody.
They don't really have any high energy color commentators now because they've switched Corey Graves to being more play-by-play.
Yeah.
They don't really have any high energy color aside from Pat McAfee, who's not about. I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is, but they've got to do something. If I were a praying man, I would pray for Joe Tessitator and his success because I want to see it. I want to hear that voice on WWE on the regular. I feel like it works. So, to close then, let's add in these few last scores from our prediction championship and get a running total. So, first of all, TNA Emergence. Scores for that was Jez 7, Dan 5. As I mentioned earlier, I predicted Wentz for the win, and I also predicted the System, which you didn't. So that's the difference in points there. Moving on to New Japan Pro Wrestling Capital Collision. I also got 7 points in that one. And you got 7 points in that one. So what used to happen all the time, us tying, has finally happened in this one. We did get a few wrong between us, and we differed on a few, and it just worked out that we tied anyway. I got one of the pre-show ones wrong, the women's tag team one. And you went for Momo Watanabe to beat Mercedes Moné. Yeah. I mean, she doesn't have creative control in New Japan, you'd assume, but she does have a loud voice, so
Gobby voice.
I went with Gobby wins in this situation. And she's only just won it, so they're probably going to keep it on her regardless for a little while. Who knows when she's going to lose it and who she's going to lose it to.
Yeah.
The women's division in New Japan is looking a bit bare, which is why they keep bringing in AEW women to wrestle on their shows. Anyway, that brings the scores on the doors for this quarter of predictions so far after a month, basically. A month of predictions is Jez 35, Dan 29.
6 away.
Why didn't yours do this? Yours isn't doing the slick slide in thing like mine is. Like, look at mine. It goes
because it's so ashamed. It's so ashamed by how rubbish I did.
Like, oh, do I have to? Okay, do I have to turn? Okay, I'll just turn up. There's no circumstance to me. I'm just going to appear. Yeah, like mine's like, I'm slick. I'm out of here. Yeah. Yeah.
Something for you to fix.
Not a great start for you this month, but
No.
I can't say that upsets me too greatly, being that I've just got this back once again, and I want to take more photos with it.
As you stroke it.
Yeah, I'm going to actually have to make an effort to polish it myself, I think.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, when there's the prospect of you getting it back the following quarter, I'm kind of like, Dan will do it, and I'll be okay. But if I'm going to keep this through to at least like Royal Rumble, then I suppose I better do some work myself, hadn't I?
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Stranger things have happened. I the first time I won this belt, I came back from such a deficit after missing a show completely. So it happens. It's possible. It's definitely possible. Next week, or on our next episode, which might be next week, probably will be next week, we'll see, we'll be discussing AEW All Out, NXT's upcoming move to the CW, SmackDown's move to USA, and JBL randomly showing up in various companies around the world.
He travels.
He has travelled, yeah. Considering he lives in Gibraltar, he travels quite a lot. No, he doesn't. He lives in Bermuda, not Gibraltar.
Yeah.
They're both British-ish territories.
They're both somewhere.
That it costs too much money to live in. You can see my confusion.
Yeah.
Until next time, then, I've been Jez.
I've been Dan.
This has been the 200th episode of the Main Event Podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.